where should you invest it? To make it super simple, you can look at the largest conglomerates in the country. It gives you a sense that you don't know what specific company will actually dominate, but you can look at the staying power of the companies or the corporations that are highly connected to those conglomerates. So hey guys, so I want to talk about the Philippine stock market, and as you all know, there has been volatility, but it's not just in the Philippine market, it's also in the US market, and it's also in the crypto market. And I've made videos about that, explaining what's actually going on, what's triggering all of it. But in this video, I want to share and at least talk about and give insights for those who are in the Philippine markets that are in it for the long term. And as you all know, there's a lot of things also that's going on in the country, to inflation, plus how things are going on globally. And that being said, while I'm recording this video, majority still of stocks in the Philippine Stock Exchange have been hit, have been battered, or currently down. And what if you're a passive investor? What should you do? What should be your narrative, and how should you actually buy? I want to make this video super simple for those who are watching this, that not to complicate things on looking at certain parameters, certain ratios, certain fundamental items, but I want it to be super simple, that if you are busy, you have a job, you have a business, and you're doing well there, what could you do and what should you do to actually earn money, or at least position during this time? And it's no question whether should you be in the market, should you be invested at this particular point in time. In my opinion, it's still better to be invested than not investing at all, not putting in your money and letting it work hard for you. Investing that has a possibility that your money could actually go down, in my opinion, is still better than spending your money, because when you spend your money goes to zero, or whatever you put it into, it won't have any value later on. Versus if it's invested, there's a chance that it could go down. But you have to realize this also, especially if it's the Philippine stock market. It's not like crypto, and it's not like other US stocks where you would see massive downward shifts and you won't actually see it also go to zero. Somehow, it would still outperform you spending. It would still outperform you buying stuff that you don't actually need. So if you're asking me, should you invest right now, then the answer is yes. Secondly, where should you invest it? To make it super simple, you can look at the largest conglomerates in the country. Conglomerates that are exposed to different sectors. The conglomerates that have banks attached to them, but don't just have banks, they have other companies that are highly correlated to them. And banks in the Philippines are generally more conservative. Banks in the Philippines have more capital requirements that need to be stored also to protect people. We're in a cash-based economy. Interest rates also that people pay for their loans are higher. Banks' margins are generally higher. And if you look at it also, the banks that we actually have are run by very, very good management teams that have been there for quite some time. But the reason why I also say that you look at the conglomerates, because if you look at the conglomerates, it would be hard to predict certain companies in certain sectors how they will actually perform. But in my opinion, going into the conglomerate space gives you diversification. Look at Ayala Corporation, the fact that they're into property development, and when you go into their property development company, Ayala Land, they're into hotels, which generally are starting to open up right now. They're into office spaces, they're into residential properties, and so much more. But above and beyond Ayala Corp, just looking at malls, they're also into telecom, and their telecom space also is growing, but they also have exposure to GCash attached to it. Then above and beyond that, they also have banks. They're also into logistics. They're also into power. So it gives you a sense that you don't know what specific company will actually dominate, but you can look at the staying power of the companies or the corporations that are highly connected to those conglomerates. So you would look at it also from a conglomerate perspective. You look at the top mutual funds, or even look at the index, you would see a large chunk of companies that are part of the PSEI, or you can look at a large chunk of companies that are bought in some of those equity funds are conglomerates. And for sure, you will see Ayala Corporation as part of it. You will also see SM. And what's interesting about SM Investments Corporation is that if you try to look at it, Ayala Corporation has one of the largest banks in the Philippines, PPI. SM, also one of the largest conglomerates, is the largest bank in the Philippines. video. Then you could also go the GT Cap route. GT Cap also has a bank, which is Metro Bank. Then they also have Toyota, which is the largest car manufacturer or distributor seller here in the Philippines as well. So just looking at that microcosm alone, you have exposure into different industries, and not just different industries, but also the top ones in their particular field and sector. Then you can also go, you have JG Summit, which gives you exposure to also property development because they have Robinson's Land Corporation, but it gives you also exposure to Universal Robina Corporation, which is, in my opinion, a brand in and of itself. And the items that they have that are selling off the shelves are very, very good brands, staples already that we have been eating and using since we were kids. Think about Chippy, think about C2, household names, household brands that have also stood the test of time. The negative side also though of conglomerates is that you're diversified, and being diversified also will hit you in a way that you get exposed to different sectors, and not all of them will perform very, very well. If you try to look at it, exposure in Cebu Pacific via JG Summit, when Cebu Pacific was one of the biggest hit in all of this, it also would hit JG Summit as a whole. In the same way also when we had lockdown, Robinson's Retail Holdings, which has exposure also to a lot of retail, also got hit. But in terms of staying power, in terms of companies that you know that have the ability to somehow hold its value and run by people who have been doing it for quite some time, I think conglomerates are a very, very good route to enter into. So Ayala Corp, SM Investments Corporation, JG Summit, GT Capital, then LPG, the Lushutan Group, which also gives you exposure to PNB, and then also their alcohol and beverage company. Or even you can go the San Miguel Corporation route, which if you look at how San Miguel is structured, they have of course their money maker, their beverage, their consumer food, where beer foods, the chicken, the beers also are very, very high margins, where they also have a very, very large market share. But above and beyond that, they're also into infrastructure. Above and beyond that, they're dabbling into different industries as well. When you're into conglomerates, it's highly diversified, that there will be certain bits and pieces of their businesses that may not perform as well. One of them also, if you try to analyze it, have Petron. And if you look at how Petron has performed from an income perspective over the past few years, also there might have been other businesses or other sectors that may have performed better, at least from a revenue standpoint. And that's what I'm saying. Buying conglomerates makes you diversified. Diversification protects you on the downside, but sort of limits your upside. However, if you're looking for something that will have staying power, if you're looking for something that exposes you to different industries, if you're looking for something that has been there also for quite some time, I think that's where investing in conglomerates has some merit. That's where investing in conglomerates somehow also protects you, especially if you're the type of person that doesn't want to watch their stocks on a regular basis. If you're the type of person that doesn't want to do the nitty-gritty, that instead of you buying a mutual fund, or instead of you buying a lump of this much stocks or for a portfolio of investments, one way for you to be diversified and still be in the stock market and still being a stock picker is to go the conglomerate route. So I'll put it in the description below, some of the other conglomerates that we have. A lot of the things that we've been talking about in terms of dividends, you can also apply that. Maybe part of your criteria is a conglomerate that gives the largest amount of dividends, or a conglomerate based on current prices will give you a larger amount of dividend yield. So there's a lot of iterations that you can actually do, but I'm making this because there's a lot of people, I do know that there's a lot of fear around. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's also a lot of doubt. People are wanting to have a piece of certainty. And I think that's a route that you could actually go, the conglomerate route, the biggest, the largest institutions that we have in the country as well. So there, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it down below. Feel free to put it in the comment section, and I'll try my best to be able to answer you to the best of my abilities. I have a course about technical analysis. I have a course about fundamental analysis. I also have a course about the basics of crypto, Bitcoin, NFTs. All of them are online, on demand. Links are in the description below if you want to know more about it, or if you want to grab a copy of my book. I've created different types of materials talking about how you can enter the stock market. So there, I hope you guys got a lot from this, and I hope that this was something that was insightful for all of you. This is Marvin Germo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon. God bless you all.